God is good, and with each day that passes brings us a day closer to the launch of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. This is the Nathan Napalm channel, and if you are new here, please consider subscribing, especially if you love old school MMORPGs, Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, CRPGs, RPGs, JRPGs, all that kind of thing. And a big shout out to the members of Napalm. Thank you very much for your support. Couldn't do this without you. And if you're interested in becoming a member of Napalm, please click the join button down below. Now today, listen, I've done class guides before for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, but they're really old and a lot of things have changed and the relevant information that we have is very different. So I'm going to begin them anew with all the new information that we have and try to be as detailed as I possibly can. And today, we're going to start with the Cleric. This is the class that my wife is going to play. Undoubtedly, she will be a Cleric. So, let's get into it. First of all, what is a Cleric? Now, the Clerics can't rely on their Pantheon directly, and that's because it is the frail age of Terminus, and communion with the Celestials is nearly unheard of. Instead, they bind themselves to the ancient tomes of their order, the fading vestiges of light from when the Celestials had drawn near. Clerics have mastered the restorative art of their order, allowing them to use a myriad of potent healing abilities. The Cleric can also dramatically enhance the defenses of their allies through the use of powerful signets, writs, and ethereal armors. Imbued with celestial power, Clerics can perform feats of stunning ability. Indeed, for this very reason, certain master clerics have been mistakenly revered as true celestials. Because of the cleric's affinity to celestial light, they have evolved the means to turn undeath and other cursed beings. Their role is, of course, they are a healer. Their combat resources are mana and celestial power / celestial bond. Their available armors are cloth, light and heavy leather, light and heavy chain, light plate, and shields. Their available weapons are club, warhammer, great hammer, mace, great mace, and quarterstaff. So the stats, the armor, the weapons, even to a certain extent the combat resource, and of course the role, all are directly from Dungeons & Dragons. This is exactly the kind of thing I would expect from a Cleric in a game like Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. But that's not what you came here for. You came here to hear about the abilities, I'll bet. So let's get right to it. Now keep in mind, the abilities we're talking about today are not all of the abilities that the Cleric will have. As a matter of fact, these are just the ones that kind of portray what kind of class the Cleric is and some of their featured abilities, literally. Okay, so let's get started. First up, we have Celestial Aegis. This manifests the Celestial Aegis to place nearby. While it lasts, it is an immovable object that enemies must break down to pass through. So this will be very handy for situations where you need a barrier, right? You need to escape. You could throw down this immovable object in a hallway, for example, block the enemies. They can't go through. They got to repath or get stuck there, and you and your party can get the heck out of there. That's the way I see this working. Of course, it could also be used as a simple distraction to buy enough time to get a res or some heals, get your heals back up and all that kind of thing. Very powerful tool though right here, and something I see the Clerics using a lot. Then we have Reckoned Stronghold. This surrounds an ally with protective light, absorbing all incoming damage until the absorption limit is reached. This is what is known in most MMOs as a bubble. It surrounds them with this protective light, and any damage done is null until it reaches its limit, in which case the bubble pops and damage begins again. Also really useful for catching up on healing, or perhaps that boss is about to do a really hardcore attack on the tank and they would rather it be absorbed by the bubble. Next we have Reproof. Unleash a barrage of celestial power at an enemy, dealing divine damage. So this is something you can expect to be shards of light just flying at the enemy, doing some damage, because Clerics have to do a little damage every once in a while. You can't be lazy, sitting around and only healing. Next up, we have Abolish Undeath, which smites an undead enemy with astonishing power, dealing divine damage and reducing their movement speed for a short time. Puts the undead target in a weakened state. So of course, Clerics and Paladins are the two classes that are really powerful against the Undeath because they use powers of light, which is in direct opposition of the Undeath. So this is once again a really powerful damage attack that also slows their movement and puts them in weakened state. So very powerful stuff here. Next up we have Resplendent Arc. Instantly heal yourself. This heal then jumps to the next 2 group members with the lowest health before returning to heal you again. So this will be a very nice heal, especially when that cleric accidentally does too much damage, or the tank isn't really paying attention, or whatever the case may be, that the cleric gets aggro. They can heal themselves and then heal the 2 nearby people. So if you're getting some splash damage, this would be really helpful and a really cool heal. Next up, we have Gift, Ethereal Plate Raiment. So this fortifies an ally's armor class. So this is a buff in order to raise the AC or armor class of your allies. Next up, we have Signet of Unity. Place a Signet blessing on an ally, causing their activities to generate less hate for the duration. This will be handy in a lot of raid fights I could foresee. When you're trying to switch tanks, they could use this ability in order for the previous tank to generate less aggro, in order for the off tank to start picking up the hate and aggro. And of course, if you got that annoying DPS wizard doing too much DPS, then you could throw it on them as well, so they can keep casting big numbers in the DPS and generate less hate. Next up, we have Revive. This brings a fallen ally back to life, restoring some lost experience. Cannot be used in combat, causes resurrection sickness. So this is one of those I expect to be able to be upgraded to eventually not even cause res sickness. And keep in mind, the keywords here on this one is it cannot be used in combat. Now, I do believe there will be revive spells that the cleric can get that you can do during combat. This is meant to clean up the mess after combat, or to just help somebody nearby. The big factor here also is that it does restore some lost experience, which losing experience freaking sucks in Pantheon. Let me go ahead and say that. You're not going to want to die. It gets worse and worse the more times you die. It keeps stacking up, and the more experience you have, it's based on percentage, so it really freaking sucks. So not losing it all is a very big boon. And of course, getting back to life and not having to run all the way back, etc. is of course the biggest boon of all. Next up, we have Refiner's Cudgel, a powerful strike that deals divine damage to an enemy. This attack will deal bonus divine damage to the undead. This sounds like this is something you need to be up close and personal for, not something you can cast from very far away, and of course, you get that bonus damage to the undead, which is fantastic. Next up, we have Edict of Stillness. Pacify an enemy's will, making them unresponsive to activity happening around them unless directly engaged. This is something that could be used in a pinch in order to crowd control just a little bit to survive an encounter. Next up, we have Coalescence. Match your health with the health of an ally in your group by either bringing their current health up to your level or bringing your current health up to their level. Once again, the cleric gets a little bit of a boost here, so if they got somebody maybe really soft or glass cannon type situation, they can bring their health up, because the cleric's going to have decent health. They can take quite a few hits before things go bad due to their armor class, etc. And it could also be used vice versa. So if the cleric's maybe in a group that they're a little bit lower level than the others, they could bring up their health to someone that they choose. Very powerful tool. I believe that will be used a lot. Next up, we have Word of Glory, a powerful heal that restores a large portion of an ally's health. Of course, we need those heals. This is the second one mentioned. The other one was more for yourself and some splash damage to nearby targets. This is a direct heal. Keywords here are large portion, because this is a powerful heal that I assume over time will get more powerful. Next up, we have Almay's Favor, a Fable blessing known to purge powerful curses. So you can remove curses from your allies, as would be expected from the cleric order. Now, once again, this is not a complete ability list, but this does give us some pretty good insight into how the cleric will play at lower end levels, which is probably what all of these spells are. I would say up to max of level 10 is probably somewhere in the realm of where these levels, maybe 15, but somewhere in the realm of where these particular abilities will land. And this is a pretty good overview of what we can expect, or what you can expect if you're planning to play the cleric in Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. Of course, there are more. There are also secret abilities that you have to get out in the world, and many other things to take into effect. But I'm pretty happy with this definition here with what we have of the cleric, and I'm looking forward to my wife playing a cleric and healing and rezzing my no good butt. I hope you guys enjoyed the video today, and of course I'm going to redo every class here on the channel, since I have some old videos on here that kind of are a little bit irrelevant now. They still are actually relevant though. If you want to watch those, there's some additional abilities on the old character sheets we used to have on the old website that are no longer available, and I still do believe that those abilities will still be in the game, maybe renamed, maybe retweaked a little bit, but I do believe they'll still be in the game. What do you think about the Cleric? Is this going to be the class you're going to play? Is it one you're considering, or are you just watching this video because you love the sound of my glorious voice? Thank you for joining me today though, guys, and a big shout out to the members of Napalm. Thank you so much for your support. I literally couldn't do this without you. And if you're interested in becoming a member, please click the join button down below for more information and a list of perks. And until next time, guys, God bless and happy gaming. Please listen to what I say. I've been making videos all day. It's a video buffet, you can even hit replay. But please just subscribe. I can't even describe being part of my tribe. I'll even offer you a prize, but just please just subscribe and hit the bell notification too.